Thank you. John?
Good evening, Mayor Lindsay and City Council members. John Duckett, Assistant City Manager and Finance Director. I was asked to provide some information in regards to how the city processes their checks. The first item that I wanted to cover was the city's 2-year budget. Every 2 years, the city completes the 2-year budget, which is online on the city's website. This is the controlling document that staff uses that's approved by the City Council that dictates how we operate the city. Once this dictate has been approved by the City Council, staff follows this. At no time would we exceed any item within the budget unless we came back to the City Council for what we would call a supplemental appropriation or some other means to increase the budget. The budget's set by law because of your decision. It's a law document, and so that is what we follow. So during the course of the year, as we operate the city, we make purchases and go through the daily business. The department heads are ultimately responsible for their portion of the budgets. For, say, the electric utility would be Mr. Miller and so forth. Water utility. We have approximately 25 funds within the city that are all wholly separately accounted for. They all have their own cash accounts, expenditure budgets, revenue budgets. So whenever there's a purchase made, it's tied to this document. Once a purchase is made, of course, we usually go through the process of either creating a purchase order. We do have blanket purchase orders for items where we buy from a certain vendor a lot of small things during the year, so we'll create a blanket purchase order so we don't have to create a separate purchase order for every transaction. We also have other services that we have within the city that we receive invoices for. The process for completing the transaction of the invoices, we receive it, our accounts payable person submits it out to the department heads, the department head reviews that. The initial off that they've reviewed it, they've concurred that it matches their budget, comes back to the finance department where our clerk reviews it, goes through the process, makes sure the account code is correct and it is firm to the budget, and then forwards that on to our finance services director who reviews every single invoice, makes sure it conforms to the budget, doesn't exceed the budget, and then initials that, and then it goes back to the accounts payable clerk who inputs the invoice into the accounts payable system, which would create the checks and a check register. The check register is the document that lists the check number, the vendor, what we expended, what the expenditure was, and the dollar amount. Our process here at the city currently is that we create a check run every Thursday. So that's our typical process. We generate all our signatures, we get all our documentation, all the source documents together, and create the check run every Thursday. Then we hold those checks and wait for 2 members of the Finance Committee who come in and review the check register and will sign off on the register, as well as myself and our Finance Services Manager or the City Manager if we're not available. And then the checks are released the next week. At no time does any council member sign any of the checks. It's only the check register, and they're affirming that we're making payments and confirming that the check register is completed. There's no city council member that's on any of the accounts for the city. We have to have signatory lists at the bank so the bank can confirm that our checks are valid and that the signatures are valid. Myself, our Finance Services Manager, the City Manager, and I believe our City Clerk are on the signatory list for most of our accounts. But as a rule, typically it is myself and our Finance Services Manager that does sign the checks. So they're not signed by the City Council whatsoever. There's been some misinformation out there that City Council members were signing checks, but that is not true. The staff operates the daily activities of the city and does sign the checks. The City Council, through the Finance Committee, which is typically the mayor and the vice mayor, are the two council members that review the check register and then sign off on that. Once all 4 signatures are on that check register, there's several council members that receive a copy of the check register. There's some council members that prefer not to see that on a weekly basis, but we do provide that to those council members that wish to see that, and then we file it in a binder in our department, and it stays there for at least 7 years, and that is the process in a nutshell. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything for you on that.
I just have a comment. Each check that goes out is signed by 2 people, not 1 person.
That is correct. We have dual signatures on every check.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Yeah, sure. And the other 2 people who signed the checks, you said it was who? You and John?
As a rule, typically it's myself and John Jones, our finance services manager, are the 2 that sign the checks on a weekly basis. In my absence, the city manager or our city clerk could sign those, and they could also sign the check register.
So basically only 2 council members see all the items that need to be paid, but all the other 3 council members don't see those items that they need to be paid, correct?
No, that is not correct. They would receive the check register that lists every check number and the vendor along with the item that was purchased and the dollar amount.
But we don't get to have a say what to vote on, correct? On these items? Or
To vote on them? No, that is correct.
So we don't have no say. The other 3 members of the council members don't have a say or question on the council, correct? This is only for information for us after the process.
That is true, because the controlling document is the city's budget that's approved through the budget process, correct?
And since you mention it, so basically also to the other 2, which is you said yourself and John, right?
Correct. On the check
Okay.
register, yes.
So there's also the city clerk. And then who's on the committee? You said you're.
The finance committee is the mayor and the vice mayor.
And who else of them?
Well, the finance staff does attend it, but the finance committee is the mayor and the vice mayor.
Yes, but how many people attend? Like you said, the staff.
It could be 2, 3. It could be 4. It
Okay.
depends on who wants to attend.
Right.
Yes.
But what I'm asking, you're saying the staff is also part of this committee, correct?
They're not part of the committee, no. We are staff.
Yes, your staff.
Correct. The committee is the mayor
So
and the vice mayor.
Right. So what you're saying you're the staff, okay? So you're
Correct.
the employees.
Yes.
So basically, the people who's overseeing these items before they get paid is the staff, not all 5 council members. Only 2 are able to see this and approve them behind closed doors. That's what I mean, that this has to come to the council before, not after. This is only for information for us.
Right. We operate the city based on this, which is the budget set down by the city council. And as staff, that's our controlling document to operate the city.
So, but I understand what you're saying, but that's actually, by law, we're supposed to, all 5 council members, I guess, but all other council members don't want to see these items, but it's our job to oversee what is being spent and what items are going to be paid. That is our job, not staff.
Well, okay.
I mean, do you feel that? I mean, the citizens elected 5 council members. Okay, so those 5 council members are the ones that are supposed to oversee what gets spent.
That is correct. And the
Right.
city council does oversee it by controlling what staff does through the budget process. And once they set the budget, then that is it's our responsibility to fulfill what is within this budget and to operate the city in an efficient manner.
I understand that, but also our responsibility for the council to oversee the staff, to make sure that we're following that budget, to make sure you're not overspending anything else.
Yeah, well, the staff reports to the city manager.
Well,
Yes, and the city manager receives direction from the city council.
Well, that's where really kind of where it really kind of gets me is that this has been going on for 14 years and nobody's ever questioned this at all until I started asking them. Okay, so
Well, I mean, it's available to anybody. If anybody wants to come into the city and they would like a copy of that, they are more than welcome to come and purchase one. It's 10 cents a page, And it's usually about anywhere from 5 to 6 pages of the checks we do each week. And it's, it's everything that's contained in the budget, which is on the city's website.
But you're
is
not
all
a
the
you're
same
not a
thing.
you're not an elected official. You're not a public official to be overseeing these items. Oh, okay, that's what I'm trying to say. It's supposed to be the council who's supposed to oversee these items.
That is correct, and the
Right.
council is overseeing it through the budget process.
Okay, Carol, do you want to say
Any
something?
other questions?
Any other questions?
Yeah.
I just wanted, after he gets done, to make a comment.
Oh, and I also had a couple items that Councilmember Lucero had mentioned at the last council meeting that was asked to speak about was in regards to the difference in the cost of the retirement CalPERS payment from June to July. Each year, CalPERS, through their actuarial process, determines what the city's contribution rate would be for the retirement system, and our rate did go up about 1.9% this past year. So the bill went up $2,385 from the prior payment, and that was in regards to the retirement system. And in regards to the comment that we didn't save $50,000 on that, was that the $50,000 that we talked about previously was in regards to the dental and the short-term, long-term disability, and then also the life insurance for the city. And that wouldn't be an immediate $50,000 savings. It's estimated over a one-year period, and so you wouldn't see that every month, obviously. So just wanted to clarify that and have that out there. And I think that's it. If anybody has any questions, I'll answer
So
that.
basically, when with the 60,000.
Yeah, we estimated 50,000. Yes.
Okay, well, see, that was actually approved by staff. So that's why I was asking, why did we pay that much money? Because the council doesn't see this until after you already made those checks and it was already paid. So this is where I'm saying this is something the council needs to oversee what you're paying. Employees should not be paying for their own benefits, their own health insurance. The council should have a say to look over those items.